Hello and welcome. It's just a bit of a training video that I'm putting together. It's a benefit of flight sim squadron flight sim group that's being put together with a few squadrons based at RAF Honington, mainly Tornadoes. There are some Hawks and one Hawk squadron, one Jag squadron is going to be here as well. But it's for the benefit of any of the Tornado guys who don't really know the way around the aircraft. I should just go through a quick cold and dark startup on here. Just give you a bit of background information about myself. I am ex-RAF myself. I was ground engineer on Tornadoes and my other aircraft. I was aircraft engines, fuel systems, the premier trade. So I did have a lot of first-hand experience of running up the aircraft. I'm not an expert on the avionics side, so any avionics guys, fairies, leckies, etc. Apologies for anything I get wrong on that, but I think I've got things about right. Right, into the cockpit. Right, I should give you a bit of a sort of tour around the cockpit and what we would do, what we expect to look at, what things are, where things are, what they do. Right, so we'll start off on the back here. Oxygen switch, we'll turn that on. I see somebody else is here. Start up. I can hear somebody starting up over there. Very nice little touch. Right, apologies. Oxygen switch at the back. Next one forward is the crash switch. Don't have to worry about that. It should be in the rearward position anyway. It's only sort of fire service that would have anything to do with that. Radios here. We're in off position, that'll be operated from the back anyway, it's duplicate from the back there. CSAS control panel, that's a control system. That's just as is at the moment, there'll be nothing on there. Going forward again, autopilot, nothing to do there at the moment. Just dropping back a little bit further. You'll notice on the back here, it's kind of a jettison, so that pin will have to be removed. We'll remove that now, and that goes into the storage down here. There's a little treat you can do. You can put on these if you wish. Just in front of the Wonderland, next one to look at is the spills. Make sure to get the spills turned off and then a spill prevention incident limiting system. And just forward of that, comm system again, it's a duplicate of the rear. On here on the handle, the only thing that works on here is the background lighting for all the instruments, so that's handle at night. Right, onto the throttle box. Right hand side, we've got the wing sweep lever, fully forward, fully back. For 68, 45 is a normal mid position, but we have it fully forward. Now, I've noticed on the sim, it will let you have the wings fully swept back in rear position with a full load. In reality, the GRs could not do that. We used to be able to do it on the F3s with the longer nose, but not on the GRs. It would sit on its tail. So, just by virtue of how it actually works, I wouldn't ever have the wings swept on the ground. Flaps are set to mid, that's a normal position that we'd have the flaps on the ground. Right, two throttles here. Just behind, these are the throttle shut-off switches. I haven't managed to find a key binding for any of those, so you manually have to go on, click the little blue light when it comes on to shut it off. While we're about the throttles, I put both the throttles to idle position at the moment. Now, I've got key bindings here set to thrust reverse. But when you want to set thrust reverse, both throttles will rock outboard like that. And then come back in when you want to stow the buckets away. Now, left-hand throttle operates the spoilers on the wing, the lift gun. The right-hand throttle operates the thrust reverse buckets. So if you haven't got the right key bindings set on here, that's just going across. That will take the thrust reverse buckets on. I've got a second setting where it's toggle water rudder on the sim will actually bring that back in. But where the three position switches, I normally go forward, backwards and leave the other position. So that's what you need to do with those if you're going to do anything. But we'll put them down now to start. Just moving forward, you've got taxi nozzle switch there. This will lift up, down. When you lift it up, and the engines are running, the taxi nozzles will open up and they'll go to 100%. This reduces the thrust back end by opening the area of the jet pipe up. This is used in, especially when the aircraft is landed, it's lighter, it's just landed, used its brakes are hot, and when the taxi back, want to reduce the thrust, so they'll open the taxi nozzles so they're not on the brakes, heating the brakes up even more than they already are anyway. It does operate, you'll see the nozzle go around to 100%, but how efficient it is, I'm not really oversure on the thrust wise. Right, just moving forward, emergency undercarriage blowdown handle, don't really want to touch that, that stays where it is. In reality, it's a one-shot system, it's a nitrogen bottom and will blow the undercarriage down, or I believe, any riggers may correct me, I believe up as well if it needs to, but it's a one-shot, so you can't do anything with it. Having said, I believe it may be up, I don't think it will be because it's only the one position handle, but yeah, some clarification on that from any riggers would be very helpful. Right, just moving along from there, we've got the APU and engine start control panel. So APU run light, yellow like that, and then the APU start switch, so off at the start, so that should be down off at the moment. Engine start light, so that will light up when we get the start selected. It's a selector switch, left, right and central position. Little box here, that's a cross drive. Now that's there's a drive system that will operate the left gearbox and the right gearbox that will link them together. The normal operation, when we've got both engines running, each engine has a power takeoff and it runs a gearbox which has hydraulics and a generator on each one. There's a cross drive across so you can take power from left to right or vice versa if needs be. If you get one engine shut down or for starting. So the cross drive clutch is operated here, it's open at the moment. The only position on there is auto. When you do close cross drive, you put the switch to auto and you've got the shut light come on here. I'll show you that shortly. Brake test button there. These trims, so you can have a look and see where your trim position is. Can't do it at the moment because I haven't got any sort of power on here, so it's not actually doing anything. But undercarriage lever in down position. Repeat up here, that's an undercarriage indicator position, so 3 greens down, 3 reds up. Kruger flaps down here again, not used on these were all inhibited. Jettison switch, got selected jettison button there, so if in the back it's certain items and pylons that have been selected for jettison, if that's pressed they will blow off. Emergency situation, if they're pressed there, it will blow everything off. I haven't actually tried them, so I don't know if they do actually work. So it's coming up here. So I've got switching the wrong position there, so it's not allowing me to do anything here. I can't get that to go. Oh, there we go, off position. So that's landing lights up, taxi lights down. Stick on these instruments at the moment, so it's a vertical descent speed, altitude at the bottom, that's your speed there. You can adjust a marker on there just for a visual reference. Right, hello Fizzy, that's what I can hear. Just going up again, rad out, we need to come to that a bit later on. Artificial horizon, compass, combined radar and projected map display down here. This is repeated from the rear. Just underneath there, we've got the WAMS panel weapons aiming system, management system. I don't think we can actually do anything with this anyway, and we haven't got weapons on anyway, so it's quite irrelevant on this. Rapid takeoff panel, there's a lever on here so you can select all 9 switches up at once if necessary. We'll leave them all down for the moment for start-ups, the battery master, front and rear pumps, pitot heaters, windscreen heaters, APU bleed, ignition T1 probes and flight instruments. So we'll leave those as they are for now. Just here, we've got left-hand engine display, so it's showing NL at the moment, but it's NL for low pressure spool speed, NH for the high pressure, which we will see. Engine temperature T7, and it goes to TBT when the temperature and speed gets a bit higher. We'll see that swap over. And AJ, area of jet pipe, at the moment it's closed, it goes around 20% when it's open. Repeated for the right-hand engines here. Just as a notice on there, we've got plateau temperatures on here. What we used to have to do when we're setting the engines up, these were calculated speeds and temperatures for normal parameters, but if you're exceeding that, it'd be quite worrying if you're going over those. So they will sit around about there on normal conditions. These are all calculated for a standard atmospheric day, 10-15 millibars and 15 degrees. Right, just on here, fuel flow gauge, got left and right gauges individually on there, so you can see each one. On here, this in reality, even with the power off, would stay where it was when the last power was on. So I've been pretty certain that it would not be a zero fuel state. That will show you what you've got combined. It's a totalizer there of all the tanks put together. You can press each of these to show what you've got under fuselage, centre fuselage, wings and under wings. Just moving down and away slightly from that, carrying on with the fuel. This is a fuel control panel here. Now you'd all notice these two outer ones, if you're under wing tank there, have green lights on when they get powered up. That's how these are sort of configuration lights on here. Thin lights don't work on here. There was 440 kilos in the thing, but it doesn't show up on here. It does show for the underwings. So even though there was a repeater on there, and you can't see the physical contents, there was a total light on there, so you can see what's in when it's full. Right, so heading back up here, you can change the NL and H reading on here, mainly used by cities. I don't think the aircrew had an awful lot to do with that. Oxygen dose eye indicators there. Left-hand hydraulics, right-hand hydraulics. These are operated by these two switches here. Off, auto, on, so they're in the on position. Right, brakes. We've got brakes set on now. So that's good. Right, we'll just come back over here again to the left. I've got LP cots here, so firewall shut-off valves. These should always be in the open position. You certainly wouldn't want to operate those in real life if the engines are running. Thrust reverse override, that allows you to stop the thrust reverse buckets coming out but still deploy spoilers if you've got the right engine going. Because of the way there's a mechanical lock in there, you would need both throttles at idle to be able to rock them across. But if you had the right hand engine shut down, it wouldn't deploy the buckets on the right hand side because it's not running and you have a supply on that, but the left would try and go. So thrust reverse override would stop the buckets coming out there and just allow you to put the spoilers out safely. Or even if you've got a long enough runway where you didn't need to push the spoilers, but you could just do it with one throttle on. So moving up, arrest the hook. Apparently on this, so long the guy tells me, you can cycle the hook up and down. In reality you couldn't. It was a release on there. It was spring loaded. Torque tube, hook came down the back side. Master arm safety switch, key 4 there. These all got modded out in the sort of late 80s, early 90s, so the keys became obsolete very quick. Pop the key in, and you've got a safe and live. There is a flag that repeats just up on the front there. With green on when it's safe, that will go down when it's live. The later modification put a standby system in there as well, but we haven't got that so. Right, these are repeats of the autopilot down here. 2 reds here, the attention getters, so they will come up with an alarm when you get alarms on here, and you get the audible sound as well if it needs to be, if it's a red caption comes up on the central warning panel. You might hear me refer to that as CWP as well. Right, accelerometer on here so you can see what your G's been. Got button on the right hand resets that. Down here we've got fuel indication, like some fire warnings on the back, fuel indications down here. the recirculation change up power. Don't actually work on here, but we'll be looking for lights on start-up on that. The ground crew will be stand by watching the compass down here. We'll now just go back down here. Right, I talked a little bit about the fuel control panel here, quite briefly. Probes, that switch B as the position is, so we've got the probe in, so probes in. Switching should be selected to normal, closed on here, guarded. So we've got master dumps, and these are all on closed. I haven't tried these yet to see if they work. And cross feeds are all closed. That IFF system, that's all off at the moment, so we'll leave that where it is. That's got in a standard squawk code in at the moment. ECS, environmental control system, that's on off at the moment. The cabin heat control, range dispersal and demisting, that's all off on there. Air system master is off at the moment. We've got a Hoochian power set connected, so I should put that to emergency ram air. What that does, that opens up a couple of the doors on the side and allows the cooling fans to run when you've got external power on, but we're not running. So I should put that down there now. That's what we would do when the ground crews would come out and start up. We'd normally get the power on and do that. Canopy demist, we'll leave that to off, and intake anti-ices will return to off. Just jumping back out a bit now, you can see on here we've got all our lights. Got switches knocking them around at the moment. So external lights are steady or flash, bright or dim. We've got nav lights, obstruction lights, formation, and anti-coal. If I've got my key binding set, no, they're not working on there. I seem to have a conflict somewhere. Must have something else trying to move these buttons as well, but yeah, so we normally have the obstruction lights on when we come out. Coming back in here again, engine left and right engine fuel temperatures at the moment showing 0 degrees. Wouldn't actually be 0, it'd be a bit warmer than that, especially as we're probably about +8, +10 today. Yeah, that's all right, showing that at the moment. Lamps test. When we got the power on, we can do lamps test. Front panels, put all the lights on there. Consoles, so the right hand console there, and the left hand console for the other side. It will test all the lights there. Coming back round forward, APU test. We can do a test before starting the APUs. Governor test, NH or NL. I don't know if the crews actually did governor tests ever at all. Never saw them doing it. It's probably more of a cities thing. Right, instrument lighting, so you can adjust the brightness of various different lights, consoles, front panels, etc. Train following radar, that's off at the moment. Fail lights be on the top. Intake ramps. Now on the GRs, do excuse me, I'm just coming through the back end of a cold, so I might be getting some coughing, and you may notice a croaky voice sometimes. So apologies for that. But yeah, on the intakes, there's two switches there. But the intake ramps, they were designed for when you're traveling supersonic. That there's ramps inside the intakes will come down to it to adjust the airflow, to allow efficient induction of air into the engines. These are actually disabled on the GRs. Now this is the actual upper ramp itself, so that would drop down. You can sort of see lines where they painted it on where it would have come down to. But the GRs, they were inhibited, so they were limited to around about Mach 1 because of that. The F3s, they're a bit different. They're a little bit quicker. But... Right, moving forward, engine control panel. Got ignition switch off or normal. Leave that one on off. It's not really anything you need to worry about. We've got a master ignition switch down here, which is the one we do need to worry about. Right, TBT, datum and low. That stays in low. what the datum was, especially on the earlier engines, it would allow some extra thrust. It would allow an increase in TBT temperature in a shit hit the fan situation. So if you needed to get somewhere away from something quick, it'd give you a little bit more thrust. It didn't do the engines any good, but normally for the crews, if they got to that point, that wasn't what their concern. Their concern was trying to get away safely, possibly to a safe area to eject as quick as possible. Right, just behind there, we've got left engine and right engine lane controls. They're set on lane 1. Lane 1 was the normal lanes that we used. There's a backup lane, secondary lane. We used to check them every time we started up. I think the air crews did as well. And there's the lane test buttons on there, but we'll come back to that when I do the test on that one. So you'll see what happens on there now. HUD camera, we can turn that on if we need to. TACAN on here. TACAN is set to off at the moment. And there's the outside rotary switcher to show you that will increase the bigger numbers, and the little one there will increase the smaller numbers, and then XY on there for depending if you need XY. We'll put a chart up somewhere on the group for those on the Hollington group of what the conversions are from nav frequencies to TACAN. Right, I shall go into the back now. I'll see if I can get this. There we go. Going into the back. So we'll have a quick look around in here. As I said to you before, I was a sissy, an engine man, so this is all the avionics domain, really. So I don't know as much here, but we go through what I do know. Right, there's a repeat of the oxygen switch here, and this does duplicate the front one, whatever position is in the front, it will be in the back, so we've got that on at the moment anyway. Canopy jacks release and emergency canopy jettison handles attack release. They're all down covered. Don't know if they work. I'm not going to try them right now. To be honest, I'm not over sure on what this is. Hopefully there will be a fairy about, but I think it's something to do with all the nav system there. HD to the art, that's set to off. We'll probably set that to auto later on, but that's off at the moment. Mapping radar, everything is off. That's on auto at the moment, but we can leave that on auto there. That's okay. Right, there's a repeat of the undercarriage positions down here and oxygen levels. That's all repeated from the front. Now, if you remember me saying about in the front, there was a jettison button on there, and it's normally set to selective jettison. There's a cover that rotates around for jettison all. Now, when it's selective jettison, in the back, they can select which pylons they would want to jettison if they were going to selectively jettison anything. So from here, they would select that, and then the pilot could jettison when it was at the right position. Clock just down here, another HSI there. WAMs here, weapon aiming management system. Don't think anything's going to work on there. I think on the nav system there's only a couple of buttons that come on. I haven't actually managed to get a flight plan in to see how it runs on here, but it does power up, and it's TV tabulators left and right are just both green screens. Apparently you can get the flight plans to come up on here, but I haven't tried that at all yet. Right, this is the main combined radar and projected map display. Off switch there, or off position for the mode switch. So we just make sure everything, it doesn't really matter for these, they can be wherever they like when it's off. That's the range on there, so you can change the scale of where you are. TV tabulator again there. Everything looks like it's in the off or alternate positions there, so we'll leave that as it is. I don't think we can actually do anything on here anyway. No, none of the buttons are highlighting when I'm hovering over them, so it's an inactive panel on there. Chaff and flares, I think that's all inactive as well. There's nothing we can do on that one. Right, the rear CWP. This is slightly different to the front one. It's got a couple of extra bits for the rear that only the nav really needs to bother about, and a couple of less bits from the front that really only the pilot needs to worry about. So moving back, then Doppler. That's in off position. We'll turn that on later. sort of combined comm system again, so repeat of the front, which was over on the left-hand side, on the pilot side, if you remember right there. Sort of lighting, sort of anti-dazzle, so that's bright or dim, so we'll leave that in off. UHF, VHF radio, once again a repeat of the radio in the front, which was left-hand console again. HF radio, we'll leave that off for now. Just moving back, we've got rear lamps. Excuse me. Rear lamps on here, so you can adjust his own lamps, and there's the brightness of what he wants. So on here, this is a ejection control handle, set to both or rear. It's normally set to both anyway for cruise, but if a pilot ejects, the navigator will go. It will always automatically sequence that the pilot and nav both eject. From the rear, if you're flying in here, now I was lucky enough to have one backseat trip, so in my backseat trip, I had it set to rear so that if I did eject, I didn't take the pilot out with me. And there could be situations where the pilot says to the nav to get out now, and here try and maybe point it away from a school that he's got likelihood to crash into. You might want to get the nav out early, so that's the reason why we've got that on there. So that's basically it for the rear. There's just a little joystick here. The nav can then control cursors and things on his setups here, on his weapons aiming and such like. But we can't actually physically do anything with this ourselves in the game. Right, back to the front again. Right, so we're happy with the switch check. Everything's done there and in the right position that we want. So what I'll do now, I'll come around, we can put the battery master on. APU bleed to close. Ignition, T1 probes, and flight instruments. Now, it's just a procedure how we used to start. There's no reason why you can't pull the handle up and turn on the pitot heaters, windscreen probes now. But you wouldn't normally, you don't need the pitot heat on the ground. Certainly the pumps, we don't need them going yet. We can start the APU up without the pumps, so we'll put those on later. So it's just a procedure how the ground crew used to do that, really, was like this. Sometimes you didn't even bother putting the flight instruments on. You don't need the flight instruments on just to do a ground start. So we're happy there. We're happy with all the switches. We've already done the check front and back anyway. So the first thing we need to do is to get the APU started. We have got external power fitted there. It doesn't really show too much on here, I don't think. I think it says it's on, but I'm having problems at the moment trying to get this to click in the right place. It keeps going in the wrong place. It thinks
Roger.
I don't know. I don't know how I can get it to click in the right place. There we go. Click much higher than it should do. Right, external power is connected and cart's enabled, it says. But we didn't have any power on anyway. But battery's on there anyway. If we can do a start with an external start, this is the APUX sort of power supply, so where it takes the power from starting. So you've got internal, external DC, which will be on the front left-hand side, and external AC plugs in front right side over there. I've never seen external DC plugged in, let alone used on Tornado. May have been done in some of the TASAFs, sort of second, third line. Certainly never saw it first line. Right, so before we start, we've got switches set down there now. We need to make sure that the cross drive is open. We've already checked that anyway, and it's quite simple for the start. We'll flick the switch up to start. We get run light. You can hear the igniters going. You can hear the APU going. In reality, it would have been on the headset to the ground crew asking crew chief, ready for engines, APU start. It's quite a realistic sound. There's a little gearbox blip missing out of that, but the startup itself sounds pretty good. It's quite realistic when it's going on there. In reality, you still wait a minute or so just to warm everything up. Don't want to overload it too quick, but I have noticed in the sim that we can get things on. It doesn't blow the APU on. Right, so I'm going to turn the right hand generator on now. Bell light goes out. I'll just turn it off again. You'll see the lights come on here. TRU, AC and DC. So watch them go off when I put that back on again. So that's good. Right hand hydraulic switch. We will get hydraulics. Then go up there. So the first position to auto and then up to on. Hydraulics goes up and you've got utils captions go out. Come over to the cross drive. Now this is what's going to take the power from the right hand gearbox where the OPU is on through to the left hand gearbox so we can get the left hand generator and left hand hydraulics on. So put the cross drive to auto and we get shut indication come on. That's now telling us it's already shut and it'll be winding up the left hand gearbox, so they're balanced out now. Once again, we would normally wait a minute or so before loading it up again. On here it doesn't matter, so we'll put on left hand generator. You can see caption goes out straight away here. I'll just do that again just to show you. The left hand gen caption is out. Hydraulics go to on the left hand side, and you see the captions go out here again, and the hydraulics go up. So just turn it off again, and you see left hand utils. The left hand utils will then go off and we turn it on. There we go. Now at this point the nav's already starting all his stuff in the back anyway, so what I'll do is I'll just go into the back again and we'll turn things on here now. Apologies to any fairies who might tell me different, but I'm just going to turn most things on to auto, so the HD DDR onto auto. I think there's anything we can do on here at the moment. I can work running around. Then TV tabulators, both of those to on, which they won't do yet because I need the main computer on. Main computer is on. The caption comes off there. IFUs as well. I'm going to click that, watch the captions go off. IFU 1, IFU 2. Very often, ground crew would input the data of whereabouts you are on here and then have the IM aligning as we go. Data 7 is where it starts out. We turn it round data 6. That winds round to 0. When it's at 0, after a few minutes, we can input that to now. So we'll leave that where it is for now. Put that onto test for a moment. Come around to the HF, turn the HF on. Turn the VHF, UHF, and see where it's going. Difficult to see where it's selected sometimes. TR and D, we'll leave that where it is there for now. I think the Doppler probably would have been turned on later, but we'll turn it on now anyway. If we can't do anything, chaff and flares. Let's try and turn that to the tabulators. Oh, they were on anyway. As I say, there's nothing on there anyway. Right, rotate this round. But we'll put it to map and radar. You can select that. So you've got map. I'm not sure what the S is. Map and radar, or just radar. So you can select where you are. On here, scaling ring so you can have a look and see different scales, range, brightness, all sorts of other controls up here if you played it if you so wish to. Right, as I was saying about the IN earlier, see it's come down to status 1 now. We wait till it's got 0 and we'll put that down to align. There we go, status 0. That's now rounding now. So we go back into the front seat again now. Right, we've now got a ready light on the CSAS over there. In reality, there'll be a check of the flight control systems in mechanical mode. check that everything works. Then CSS will be engaged. This is all done in conjunction with the ground crew, so you say to they check the trim, you get trim to neutral. As you can see, the trim is moving there when I'm moving my trim. The ground crew will check trim neutral, and then you go through sequence, fly down, fly up, fly left, fly right, rudder left, rudder right. That's all going on there. Right, we now get ready to do a right-hand engine start on here, but I haven't turned anything else on yet. As you can see, we've got the wing lights on here now as well, so you can see some of those. What I should have done before putting the power on really, done the lamps test, so you can see all the lamps tests and make sure everything's working. You can see all the captions on there, see all the lamps lit everywhere. Let the button go and it goes. Turn with the right hand, we can check all the lamps, everything works there. So you can see these are under fuselage, under the centre fuselage, all repeated on there. This is obviously a pre-mod one because it hasn't got fin in there, which is why we're not getting an indication. Left hand side, all the lights work there as well. Okay, round about this point, probably want to get the we did put lanes test just before we start, but we've got the engine running in it. So if I press the lanes test button on there, right hand side, you can see it goes down to its max temperature, 925. We get the alarm come on. Let's reset that again, put into lane 2. I don't think this has any, it's bearing on sim, but it's just something used to on starting. Do the same on the left, do a lanes test on there. Got the attention getters going on this one. Reset, goes back down again. Put that into lane 1 and do that. Got 30 captions on here now with that one. Yep, so that's good, everything's winding down there. On here, you can see we've got left oil pressure, cabin, right oil pressure. Now these oil pressure lights we'll look for in start-up, they will go out. Spills grayed out and pitot, we'll get to those shortly, but there's nothing untowards expected there at the moment. Right, so we're going to go for right-hand engine start first. So I'll ask crew chief, go for right-hand engine start. He will give us a yes or a no. Select start, we get the green run light come on, come over and have a look over there. You see the NH rising now. We're looking for 20% and then we'll open the throttle, so you can see that they're shut at the moment. Oil pressure light has gone out now, 18, 20%, throttles go to idle, T7 starts to rise now and the right hand fuel flow is moving. Just monitoring now, this will overheat just by virtue of the way that we have to accelerate the engine. The temperature will go over, but it'll lock back. But as long as you don't get very high temperatures, as long as we're around 400-500 mark, we should be alright then. So there it's stabilising, dropping back down again. NH is rising still. I am certain that this is a lot quicker in real life. I think we would have been started by now. But we'll wait. When it gets to 60%, the APU will cut up. We'll hear that. There we go. The APU cutout sound is terrible. It wasn't like that, and the engine would be a lot louder than that. Bearing in mind we've got the canopy up still. Right, so good engine start. Quick throttle check just to make sure we've got responses there and captions are out. So that's all good. At this point, we'll ask ground crew to remove the external power. If I can
Roger.
if I can get it to work on here. I don't know why this has gone to a different place now. External power.
Roger.
Disconnected. They moved the external power away. Right, so I'm just going to pop into the back again now. just have a look on here. So what we've got on here, left hand oil pressure, because we haven't got the engine running. Spills haven't got turned on in the front yet, rad out, and cabin. So there's nothing I wouldn't expect to see in here at the moment. So I think we've got everything on that we need to have on and where it is. So back into the front. One thing I will do at the moment, before the engine start, the ground crew would have done the MDC pins. I'm going to do the seat pin here now. They wouldn't actually do the pins until they're ready to move for the seat pin. It's just an extra safety, but I'll do it now because I don't want to come back into the back seat again. Right, back into the front. So you can see that's where the MDC pin is for the front, so I'll put that in there. Emergency power system. This is a one-shot battery on the GRs, certainly the GR1s. We'll take the pin out, and that's in the off position. Seat pin. You wouldn't actually do that with the canopy up, but I've done it now. Just it's done. It's ready. Right, so everything's good there. We've got left-hand generators and hydraulics all on anyway. Once again, especially the early APUs, I would have opened the cross drive for doing the right-hand engine start, but it doesn't matter on this end. You can start it up. The later APUs were capable of running both gearboxes and starting the engine up. Right, I need to turn the spills on here, and then press the red light. So we now lose that spills caption that we had over here. So that's good. And we'll turn the rest of the switches on here, that switch now, so we know what. I should have turned the pumps on first anyway, but heater heaters, windscreen heaters, they're all on now. There's nothing else to do here. This automatically changes with the back. So they're basically ready for left-hand engine start now. So once again, you'll ask the crew chief, ready for the left-hand engine start. And if I can get the switch to go across, it holds to the left, green light comes on, NH starts to rise. Obviously these numerical dials would be progressively rotating around, not jumping 2% at a time like it does on here. It is analog, the same as the needle. But same as before, when we get to 20%, throttles to idle. T7 starts to rise, we've got fuel flow, NH is still rising, oil pressure caption is out. Bit of a hotter start on the left hand side, but that's still alright, around about 500 amps, nothing to worry about there. Swinging back down. Right, 66 we got up to there, give the throttles a quick check. There we go. On startup we would throttle up just to over 70%, make sure we can get the throttle caption, certainly on the earlier ones. I think it was modded out later on, sort of GR4s, I'm not sure on that one, I didn't actually work GR4s. Right, so I'm about ready to go there now, so we get the canopy down. Once again, just a reality thing here. In real life, you would tell the crews you can drop the canopy down. The reason being is we've got the MDC pins out. If it were to explode, the ground crew want to be out the line of fire of it, so they would just hide underneath the wing or the fuselage, just out and wait, just in case. Canopy comes out. It's a very realistic horn sound on there. That is exactly as it was. And locked. So now see we got the cabin pressure out. Right, just with the rad out, if we flick this switch around on the left, we now get the flag going out. As I turn that dial up to set where you want the rad out to go, it will beep. So just put that back down to 0 again, and we can see now all our captions have gone here. We haven't got any captions on the FDS and haven't got anything on CSS. We've already pressed the ready button to engage, so we're about ready to go. taxi lights would go on to indicate to the ground crew. Before that, the ground crew would do a quick walk round. Crew chief on the headset would say to the crews, everything's clear, central warning panel downstairs, all clear, all panels are closed, ready to go. Marshal would be out the front, so just giving him the taxi lights on to let him know we're ready to go. You don't physically get a marshal around, just a quick check of the brakes, yep, that's good. This switch up here, I didn't say about earlier actually, nose wheel steering, press once for low, press twice for high, 3 for off again. Select that to high, done a quick brake check, and now we've got nose wheel steering. And that's it. Thank you for watching, and I hope it's been helpful for you.